Welcome to Tennessee's At Home Learning Series for Math. Today's lessons for all our sixth graders out there, though all children are welcome to tune in. This is the sixth in our series. My name is Reggie Caruth, and I'm the assistant principal here in Tennessee Schools at Laverne Middle School and Rutherford County Schools. I'm excited to be your teacher today. Welcome to my virtual classroom. If you didn't see our previous lesson, you can find it on the Tennessee Department of Education's website at www.tn.gov/education. You can still tune in to today's lesson, though it may be more fun to go back and see previous lessons since we'll be talking about things we previously learned today. Today we'll be exploring what it means to divide fractions in mathematics. Before we get started, to participate fully in our lesson, you will need the following: pencil and paper. Okay, let's begin. You ready? So I want to know again, which expression does not belong? So this is going to be 1/4 divided by 2. And I'm going to label this box A. This one will be 1/4 times 2. And I'm going to label this one box B. And this one will be 1/4 times 1/2. And I'm going to label this one C. I'm going to give you some time. I want to know which one of these does not belong. Okay, so let's share some possible solutions. You might have said A is the only expression written as a division expression. Or you might have said B because that expression is the only one that is not equivalent to 3. Or you might have said C because that is the only expression that does not include a whole number. All of those are great observations for today's lesson. All right, so as we're reviewing, I want to review fractions. I want to know what you know. All right, so let's move into today's lesson. Today we'll be dividing fractions. First, let's think about what you know about fractions. I want you to fill in each box based on what you know. You can use words, numbers, or pictures. Show me as many ideas as you can. I can't wait to see them and hear from them. I'm gonna give you a couple minutes to fill it in. Again, remember, you can use words, numbers, and pictures. Okay, let's look at your responses. Fractions, what is it? Great. So a fraction is a number that names equal parts of a whole number. Of a whole, I'm sorry. All right, so now that I have that, I want to know, what do you know about it? Well, you know that a numerator tells you the number of equal parts. What about the denominator? The denominator tells you the number of equal parts in a whole. Anything else? Yes. So we also know a fraction can represent the division of two numbers. All right, so what about some examples? Can anybody provide me with any examples to go in here about fractions? So I have 7/10 with my 7 is 7 equal parts. And my 10, or my denominator, is equal parts in the whole. And another example, kind of based off of my third thing is 7/10 is same thing or equal or equivalent is 7 divided by 10. Good job. What about using a model, a picture, or anything? All right, so I'm gonna draw. I'm gonna divide this into 6 parts. All right, so of these 6 parts, I'm going to shade in 5 of them. And I know that this model represents the fraction 5/6 of the figure is shaded. Good job. All right, so that's some great previous knowledge. So in today's lesson, you will learn more about dividing fractions. You use what you know to try to solve this problem. Don't forget, you can use words, numbers, drawings, or models to help you. Also remember that division is splitting a quantity into equal groups to find the number of size of the groups. So let's do a problem together. I'm gonna put a problem up and I want you to read it. So let's look at this problem. All right, so Ramona is making clay animals with her friends. She has 3/4 pound of clay. She shares the clay equally among herself and 3 friends. How much clay does each person have? Again, I'm gonna read that one more time. Ramona is making clay animals with her friends. She has 3/4 pounds of clay. She shares the clay equally among herself and 3 friends. How much clay does each person have? So I'm gonna give you a minute to solve. While you're solving, dividing 3/4 pound of clay equally among several people is a division situation that involves fractions. As when you divide with whole numbers, it can be helpful to estimate a quotient before you divide. I want you to work on estimating as while you're working through this problem. So I want you to estimate whether 3/4 divided by 4 is greater than or less than the dividend 3/4. So I want you to, again, estimate 3/4 divided by 4. And I want to know if this answer is going to be greater than or less than the dividend of 3/4. While you're working, please let me know when you agree with an idea, and don't forget to add details to your work. So I know that 3/4 divided by 4 is less than each portion will weigh in this part. So it'd be less than. So scratch that. All right, so I know less than 3/4 since each portion will weigh less than 3/4 pound because you divide the 3/4 pound into 4 smaller parts. So in this first solution path, we will use the fraction model or a fraction bar. Our fraction bars, which is a bar model, allow us to see each part of a whole. We must start with the total number of clay we are given. How much clay does Ramona have? Correct, 3/4 pound. So I'm gonna write that down. I know that Ramona has 3/4 pound. How many parts are we dividing the clay into? You're right, 4 parts. Why is it not 3? Correct, because Ramona wants clay too. Let's use our fraction bar to first divide 3/4 into fourths so we can better see how much clay we have to portion out. So I'm gonna draw. So I know this is gonna represent a fourth, this is gonna represent a fourth, and this is gonna represent a fourth. Does the model allow us to see how much clay each of 4 of them will have to work with? Correct, not really. I think we need more detail. Since there are 4 people, each person gets a fourth of each fourth pound of clay. Let's look at that. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to take this fourth and I'm going to divide it up. So each piece is going to represent 1/16 because this fourth represents 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. This fourth is cut up into another 4 pieces, which is 8. This fourth is cut up into another 4 pieces, which is another 8, which is 12 total, which I know this represents my 3/4 of a pound. If I were to extend this to get my whole, I break that up into 4 pieces. Now I have 16 total pieces. So this is 1/16, this is 1/16, this is 1/16, this is 1/16, and so on and so forth. So I know this piece is also 1/16, and this piece that we're sharing is also 1/16. So each 1/4 is divided into 4 pieces. Notice that fourth of each fourth is 1/16. If we have given each person a fourth of each fourth of clay, how much clay would each person have? Correct. Yes, we have 3/16 pound of clay for each person. Because if I were to give this piece, and this piece, this would give me 1/16 plus 1/16 plus 1/16, which is going to give me that 3/16. Another type of visual model that we can use for this problem is a number line. So I want you to draw a number line on your paper. What part should we divide our number line into? So I'm going to draw my number line. we're going to divide this into fourths. So the number line should be divided fractional parts into fourths. So if this is 0 and this is 1, I'm going to divide this into a fourth, 2 fourths, 3 fourths, and then I have my 1. So now since now we have 4 people, remember Ramona wants clay too, it is easy to think that we will divide by 4. But we have to visualize what it means to divide 3 fourths into 4 parts. For this, we need to divide each fourth into 4. As we saw in the fraction bars, we divide fourths into fourths we have 16ths. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to break it down into my 16ths. So I know that this is So this is 1/16. Each mark represents 1/16 on my number line. So now I'm going to start grouping them together to figure out what I have. So I'm going to go here, starting at 1. This represents 3/16. Represents So each of these represents 3/16. So I know that with this, I have 12/16, which is equivalent to 3 fourths. So when you divide 12/16 into 4 equal parts, each part is 3/16, which means each person gets 3/16 of a clay, 3/16 pounds of a clay. So we did it. We got the same response using 2 different models. Which model do you personally think is easier to visualize in a situation? There is not a correct model for this situation, but it's important to remember that models allow us to see the problem. You may remember using bar models, grid paper, or even fraction circles in earlier grades. They are all additional models that can be used to help for this situation. So in this problem, we were trying to use what we already knew about fractions to solve the problem. We used the visual fraction model and a number line. So using numbers and symbols, how would you write this problem now? You're right, it is a division problem with a fraction. It is written 3 fourths divided by 4. Since there is 3 fourths pounds of clay divided out to the 4 friends. We divide 3 fourths into 4 equal parts. We are actually finding a fourth of 3 fourths. We will learn more about this as the week progresses. We saw that this means that we have 3 fourths times 1 fourth. From 5th grade, we remember that we multiply the numerators and the denominators to get an answer of 3/16. It's a lot, isn't it? All right, so let's do one together so that we can make sure we understand. Here's our situation. So I'm going to put up our next situation. All right, so here's our situation. Patrick is using layers of colored sand in an art project. He divides 2/3 pound of blue sand into 3 equal parts in order to make 3 layers. So, A, I want you to think about how much total blue sand does Patrick really have? Look back in our problem and tell me how much total blue sand does Patrick have? Correct. He has 2/3. So I'm going to write that down. Okay, so how many parts is he dividing the 2/3 into? Look back in the problem. How many parts is he dividing the 2/3 into? Correct, 3. So now I want you to use what you know to solve the problem. I want you to draw a model, and you can choose the model, and determine the amount of sand that Patrick will use in each layer. I give you some time to work this out. All right, as you're solving, I'm going to go ahead and start drawing my model. I'm going to keep that up. I'm going to draw my model here. All right, here's my model. This model shows that 2/3 pound of sand must be divided into 3 parts. Now we must divide each part into 3 parts. So I'm gonna take each part and now I'm gonna divide that into 3 parts. So I'm gonna take this part and divide it into 3 parts, this part, and this part. So how many parts do we have now? If you said 9, you are correct. So let's check it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 parts. So each of these should be labeled 1/9. So this is a ninth, this is a ninth, a ninth, a ninth, 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 a ninth, and a ninth. Now, what do we do next? Yes, we have to divide this into sand for the 3 layers. So I need to know how much sand does each layer contain. So now I'm going to divide it into my 3. Let me see. Do I have another color that I can use? All right, so again, how much sand does each layer contain? And what is the solution to this problem? So each one contains 1/9, 1/9, which is 2/9. So the solution of this is 2/9 pound. So again, looking at this, each contains 2/9 pound of blue layers of blue sand. Good job. So now here's one for you to try on your own. Use a model to show your work. So here's our problem. It says Jasmine wanted to make ribbons for her friends. She has a 1/4 yard of fabric to make ribbons for 3 of her friends. How much fabric would each ribbon contain? Again, I'm giving you this chance to solve this on your own. Use a model to show your answer. So let's check your work. Here are some models that could have been used when solving this situation. So I'm going to use this model. So I know that she has a 1/4 of a yard. So I know that this is going to represent my 1/4. So from that 1/4, she's going to divide that to 3 friends. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to divide it. Let me use this one to 3 friends. So now I need to know, what does each of these represent? So I'm going to go ahead and divide my whole thing into 3s. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So each part represents 1/12. So now, how much fabric would each ribbon contain? Correct, 1/12. So great work today. Today, we explored dividing fractions by whole numbers with visual models. I hope you're seeing some connections to the models you used in previous grades. You sure did do a great job. After the video, you will have some problems to practice on your own. You can find the independent practice in the student practice for the lesson posted on the website at www.tn.gov/education. Good luck and do your best. I enjoyed exploring divisions of fractions with you. Thank you for inviting me to your home. I look forward to seeing you in our next lesson in Tennessee's At Home Learning Series. Bye.